about that breakthrough. One of the things that's so extraordinary about this book is the way you integrate uh, indigenous people's ideas and attitudes about this abduction experience throughout the book. Credo Mutwa, a leading African sensui or high medicine man, his ideas and his stories go through the whole book, and they are truly amazing. We always think of this as being basically an American thing, or at best a Western thing. But John Mack has blown that idea out of the water. They're doing it, and doing it better, in other parts of the world. So tell us a little bit about this man. How did you meet him, and what was he like? And what happened to him?
Actually, I hadn't expected to meet him when my associate Dominique Kalamanopoulos and I went to South Africa or actually we were headed for Zimbabwe because there had been some children at a school outside the capital of Harare who had some extraordinary sighting of UFOs that had landed in their schoolyard, and they'd seen one or more strange beings, as one of the girls put it, come out of these spacecraft, and we received some drawings of these kids by fax and telephone calls, and so we were already planning to go to Africa, but we changed our plans to make sure we went to that school. But we also went to South Africa for a week, and right then and there, I was met at the airport, and we were taken to a television station, and there by satellite was Credo Mutwa, because he had heard that I was going to talk about these experiences with these strange beings, which he calls, or his people call, Mentindane, which, but to hear him describe those beings is very much like the gray beings that we hear so much about here. And for the first time, he then he asked to see me, and then first we spent several hours with him, and he, for the first time, in a very movingly candid way, talked about the trauma that he'd undergone when he was a young man in the bush and had been through an experience very much like the ones that you've been through, Whitley. And at that time, I mean, I had never heard of Credo Mutwa, and here within hours, really, of landing in South Africa, I was with this extraordinary medicine man talking about experiences so familiar to me from people in this country.
This, which is quite extraordinary. I am shown that the world is dying. These creatures are trying to warn us about danger. The thing that you are looking into is real. It is not a figment of anybody's imagination. This was part of the message of Credo Mutwa, and it certainly is related to the kind of messages that I have been getting, and the book that Art and I wrote, The Coming Global Superstorm, is a direct response to that kind of message. What do you think this means, John? This is something you discuss quite a bit in the book as well, this message that seems to be beginning to focus. If you could describe the message that's focusing around the abduction experience, around this part of our ongoing contact, what would you say it is? How would you?
Well, you have to start with a certain mentality which pervades the Western way of thinking, but is common throughout the world, which is that the planet is a kind of piece of real estate that belongs to us, and that we can divide it up into countries, and it's a marketplace for goods and for all kinds of resources, and we have no responsibility beyond what we take from the earth. And in other words, we act like the earth essentially belongs to this one species. And that's changing, of course, with the increasing environmental awareness. But we've reached the place where basic resources are running out. The planet is becoming more and more polluted. The seas, the yield of fish from the seas is going down. And in effect, we are in an extraordinary planetary crisis because of our inability to understand what native peoples all over the world understand, which is that there is a very delicate web of life, and that web of life is being destroyed by this species. So that's the background. But then what happens in these experiences is that the message comes through to people that have had no particular environmental sensitivity or awareness, and the message says, your planet is dying. This is not your planet. It does not belong to this one species. And they are shown images of vast and exquisite beauty of the planet all over the Earth, and then those images are shown alongside of pictures of the sea polluted, the trees dying, species disappearing, and they often react with shock to when they see this, and it creates a very deep sadness, but at the same time a strong motivation on the part of many experiences. If they can get past the trauma, the initial trauma of the experiences, that they become very motivated to do something about this situation. They want to talk publicly about it. But again, many of them are so used to, you said at the beginning that you spoke about derision and ridicule, and that's a big problem, because this phenomenon is so frightening to many of us in the West, not so much because of what the aliens do or don't do to people. That's a part of it. But the deeper fear is that it tells us something about ourselves in the universe that is completely shattering to our worldview. As it says that there are beings, creatures, whatever you want to call them, intelligences, who have powers, who have vision, who have intelligence, technological capabilities that we simply don't have, and that they can reach us and do with us what they will. I mean, what they do is not that destructive, but the fact that we are not in control, that there are other beings that come through to us in this way, I mean, it kind of topples the arrogance that is pervasive, in the sense that we are alone somehow in the universe, and intelligence is, we are the smartest beings in the cosmos, and this is a shock to discover that what native peoples all over the world, of course, have known and still know, and we used to know this too, that the universe is filled with beings with intelligence, which don't necessarily manifest in the material form, although they may. This is opening people to this kind of awareness, but the point is that people are afraid to speak up about this, because the tendency is to be laughed at or in some way embarrassed for speaking about what is a deep truth for these individuals.
Yes. On Tuesday, November the 16th, something very extraordinary is going to happen at 7 o'clock in the evening. This is going to be the moment when Dr. John Mack, author of Passport to the Cosmos, Pulitzer Prize winner, is going to be speaking at the New York Academy of Medicine. It's at 5th Avenue and 103rd Street. It's $20 or $10 with a student ID. Doors open at 6 p.m. To reserve tickets in advance, you can call 212-459-4570. If you're anywhere in the Northeast, don't miss this. I would fly in for it.
There also will be with me one of the people I've worked with. We call them experiencers. I don't like the term abductees, because that implies a kind of violence and being taken against one's will. And in addition to one of the experiencers who will be on the podium with me, our clinical director, Roberta Colasanti, will also be speaking. And it should be interesting, I think, to particularly... also, there'll be some experiencers in the audience who will speak up. So it'll be a kind of well-rounded program, I hope.
It's a chance to get insight into what is probably one of the most important human experiences in all of history. Tuesday, November the 16th at 7 p.m. This is Whitley Strieber. It's Dreamland. We'll be back. This is Whitley. I'm back. We're talking to John Mack, Dr. John Mack, the Harvard professor and psychiatrist who brought legitimacy to the whole alien abduction experience. His new book, Passport to the Cosmos, is a breakthrough book from Crown. You can get a signed copy tonight if you go to www.peer-mac.com